I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quentin Williams. Right sideline, Usama's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life breathing in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.
Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am oh so excited to talk to you boys and girls out there. I missed last week because I was not feeling so hot, feeling a little under the weather. Feeling better now. Had myself a good week. The daycare sicknesses are legit. For you parents out there that have sent your kids to daycare, oh, sucks. Sorry. Whew, still getting over something. What's up, everyone in the chat? I see Fry Guy in there. Charles Gorman, what's good? Asking, Ryan, how was your Easter? Not bad. My mom came up. I got to hang out. We did like some celebration stuff on Saturday. Had Easter breakfast, and then I actually worked the afternoon. So I was at the golf course, hanging out, checking people in, doing what I got to do. Green and White Militia says, I'm trying to call when my kids go to bed, dog. I love it. Can't wait to talk some Jets. We'll do this the same way we do it every week. You'll hear me talk a little bit about my thoughts for the first 15 minutes to half hour or so. Then we'll go to the phone lines. You get 3 minutes on the timer after 3 minutes.
That's it. You're out of here.
That's right. You get the chicken. Always a lot of fun. Looking forward to talking and hanging out with you guys. Carrie B says, hi. Mark from Asbury Park. What's up, dude? Greg? Mitt? Scotty? R&R? Joe S. says, blessing in disguise. Jets did not get OBJ. Red John seems to agree. We dodged a bullet. So I do have a poll question in the live chat. How are you feeling about OBJ to the Ravens? The three options you could pick: I'm upset, indifferent, happy. Right now, with just 68 votes, 49% are indifferent, 43% are happy, 9% are upset. I would say I fall in the majority here, the kind of indifferent and happy. I would say I'm happy we did not sign Odell to the contract that he got. I'm indifferent because I don't think we necessarily needed Odell. I think you have Corey Davis. If he's your, bottom rung, I shouldn't say bottom rung. If he's your number 3 wide receiver that you're relying on, and that's like the floor of like the worst caliber receiver you're going to have at that particular slot, I'm about it. I'm happy with Corey Davis. I have no issues with them rolling forward with him. That being said, you're sitting at number pick 13. If you have the feeling that you might be able to solve offensive tackle at another point in the draft, possibly with maybe a later round pick. Maybe you want to have Brown as like the main guy and you want to groom someone behind him. Becton, you want to give him the shot as a starter, and then you want to groom someone behind him, probably Mitchell, that we've drafted last year. Then maybe there's a situation where you go after Jackson Smith-Njigba at 13, and then you release Corey Davis or include him in a trade at number 13. Maybe that's what the Jets are waiting for. I don't necessarily think that. I'm totally fine with the Jets waiting on this Aaron Rodgers trade. We heard from Ian Rappaport earlier. Was it earlier today or yesterday? It had to be earlier today, I guess. On the Pat McAfee show. Talking about how Joe Douglas is optimistic that a trade will get done, but nothing is imminent. There is no further trade discussion since the owners meeting, or maybe no progress since then. which is kind of what I kind of speculated. Did not think we're going to make this move very quickly. I feel like the most truthful responses that we've gotten out of Douglas and Saleh were the owners' meeting, where they're kind of relaxed. They're like, yeah, look, we don't care if this happens. You know, if it could go into training camp, you know, the guy knows the offensive system. You don't have to necessarily worry about it quite as much. Like, these guys are cool as the other side of the pillow. This does not make me feel like a trade is getting done very quickly. If I were Joe Douglas, I use every single one of my picks. You know my feeling on that. And I would use it to surround the eventual Aaron Rodgers with talent. Odell would have been a hell of a grab. You snatch him up, and you have a very explosive weapon group. But I think it's one of those situations where it's like, hey, look, Odell, this is the wide receiver room you're coming into. So this is the role we're going to have to expect you to play. Here's the price point we're willing to hit. He called the Jets to see if the Jets would match the offer to the Ravens. He was like, come on, I want you to get the last crack at me. And that didn't happen. Jets were like, no, we're good. $15 million guaranteed, $18 million over 1 year? Nah, it's all right. Good for you. No, not upset. No bad feelings. Odell got his. I do feel a little sigh of relief, because as exciting as Odell would have been, the injuries do scare me. You hope that, you know, everything's all right and he performs well. But for that amount of money, nope, I'm okay. Blitzkrieg pops in and says, for that price tag, I'm okay passing on Odell. Hope Q does not hold out OTAs, especially since we will have a new defensive tackle next to him. So I do think that Quinnen's contract did go up. I've been saying for a while $23 million is going to get it done because of the fifth-year option we already have on him and the 2 successive franchise tags that you could, in theory, place on him. I thought for sure he would get slightly above what that, like, you know, everyone but Aaron Donald got. And we just saw, what was it, Simmons? Just get paid $23.5 million a year. And I think Quinnen's a better player than him. So Quinnen Williams, I think, will get more. I think he'll get about $24 million a year. And if I'm Joe Douglas, I'm looking to sign this deal kind of as soon as possible. Now, a lot of Quinnen's contract is going to have to rely, I think, on the structure that's ultimately going to take shape with the Aaron Rodgers trade, because I think there's a really good chance that Aaron Rodgers gets traded post June 1st, which frees up a little bit of cap space for the Packers this year. I think the Packers are going to eat a little bit of that $60 million signing bonus. Could be $10 million, could be $15 million, whatever it is. I think they're going to eat a portion of it, and I think maybe some of that will be going into play as far as where we decide to shift Quinnen's money to. Probably not entirely on the Aaron Rodgers front, but the Aaron Rodgers front, you got to worry about getting him first. Quinnen Williams is already under contract. Sorry, Quinnen. We love you. But you may not be the most pressing thing right now. We're going to get it done. It's to your benefit to wait anyway, because some other guys are going to get paid, and your price is only going to go up. You're not going to get hurt. I think they will get this done before training camp, both the Aaron Rodgers trade and the Quinnen extension. But I agree with you, Blitzkrieg. I do not think I am that upset with missing on Odell. Balls be hurting says, wait for D-Hop to get released. We will get him cheaper anyway. If Odell comes, or not Odell. If DeAndre Hopkins comes cheaper than Odell, I would absolutely look to get Hopkins. I like Hopkins more from like if both players were even as far as like contract, I would go with DeAndre Hopkins. Now, that being said, I think DeAndre Hopkins is a better player. He should get more than Odell. I think Odell's $15 million is where I would be sitting if I'm Hopkins, just saying, hey, I don't need to take less than that. I'm a better receiver. I'm healthier normally. Miss a few games due to suspension. I don't know. I like that you're saying released, because I don't think you trade for DeAndre Hopkins. But if he's a free agent and he wants to win and he's willing to take a little bit less to do it, that's certainly a conversation I would be open to having. Hennessy Heisman. comes in, says, missed on Tyreek, got Garrett, missed on Odell, get JSN. Ooh, I like that. That's kind of nice, right? Yeah, just think, if you had taken the opportunity to get Tyreek Hill and you actually signed him, like you got the trade done, you would have probably taken Jermaine Johnson at 10. And then you're going back, you're not taking Garrett Wilson, obviously. You're getting worse value on Jermaine Johnson because you're taking him at 10 instead of, 26. And then you're not trading up for Breece Hall because those are the picks you gave up. So, like, not signing Tyreek was one of the best things the Jets could have done, I think. I mean, it sucks he went to a division rival, but I'm okay with that. Missing on Odell, that's not necessarily a bad thing. He would have had to fit a very specific role, price point, liability coverage if you're the New York Jets. Like, I would have loved to have had him on our terms. It's all right that he wound up going elsewhere. No issues there. James says, I'm glad Odell isn't with the New York Jets. We have a crowded wide receiver room. Well, we do, but I think if you get Odell, you probably let Corey Davis walk. I think now that you don't have Odell, you're maybe looking possibly JSN. I think possibly keeping Corey Davis. I would like to... It depends how they feel about Corey Davis. If they do like him... Remember, the Packers tried to trade for Corey Davis. And to some level, that means Aaron Rodgers would be happy having Corey Davis here. So I think not getting Odell sort of leads me to believe that they'd be happy maybe with 2 years of Corey Davis. And if you can kind of drop his cap hit a little bit this year to give him guaranteed money over the course of the next 2 years, maybe that's what you can do. Or you just let Corey Davis play in a prove-it year this year. But yeah, I'm kind of with you, James. I don't think Odell necessarily needed to come here. I think we're going to be just fine. We're going to be a run-based team anyway. Jay Claus says, D-Hop's base is almost $20 million for 2023, unless the Cards cut or trade him. So if he is traded, I believe it's $19.5 million this year and $14.5 million next year. That's what it would be if he's traded. Unless the Cardinals decide to eat some of the contract, but based on all that, as far as like tradable contract without them taking on anything, it would be $19 million, which is way more than I want to pay this year. I'll be honest. Gerard, what's up, dude? He says, OBJ possibly at $18 million. No thanks. I guarantee he won't play the whole season. Keep Davis. Just restructure. He's a good blocker for our run game. Yeah, Gerard, I'm right there with you. I like Corey Davis. I would have been fine, even if obviously we didn't get Odell. I'm cool with keeping Corey Davis. This was someone that I had us cutting at one point in my mock offseason. I had the same for Lawson, but I think going with Aaron Rodgers definitely kind of steers you more towards, hey, we got 2 years. Corey Davis has a report with our coaching staff, has a report with the rest of the guys on the team. He was a top 5 pick at one point. He's had horrible quarterbacks his entire career, relatively speaking. I mean, like Ryan Tannehill is probably baseline average. And then, Zach Wilson, Mike White, didn't really provide a whole heck of a lot the last 2 years. Same with Joe Flacco. So Corey Davis with Aaron Rodgers, probably a different wide receiver than Corey Davis with those guys. And $18 million for Odell, that's silly money. Absolutely no way the Jets should have paid that. I completely agree. NY Sports MC says, it's my birthday today. What's up, dude? Happy birthday. He says, JD, let's end it with a bang. Make the Aaron Rodgers trade official. See, I don't want it to happen before the draft. I'm big on using all our picks, keeping everything. I don't want it to happen. Don't want it to happen. Hennessy says, if we pass on Jackson Smith-Njigba at 13, the Patriots will take him at 14. Bank on it. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. Because, I understand wanting a receiver, but, man, I want the tackle so much more. If Joe Douglas feels he can solve tackle like they did in Philly when he was there. They used like a 6th or 7th round pick on their current left tackle that is with them on their Super Bowl run. If Joe Douglas thinks he can hit on a mid to late round tackle to be our heir apparent at left tackle, then yeah, go with a weapon for Aaron Rodgers. The dude's never had a first round weapon drafted by his team. Spoil the guy. He's coming here. He's saving us. Get him some weapons. Load up. I tend to think the best weapon in this particular draft is Dalton Kincaid, the tight end from Utah. That being said, I don't want tight end in the first round. That is absolutely horrifying. So the best tight ends are found in like the mid rounds. Most of the first round tight ends, incredibly scary. Like if you look at the list of like the last 10 years of first tight end taken off the board, generally speaking, you have to get an absolutely elite tight end to justify it in the first round. But Jackson Smith-Njigba, of all the receivers, I think he's the one I would probably take. The speed still scares me, but I understand you don't need to be like some crazy sort of blazing speed dude. And the fact that he put up the numbers he did with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, clearly the Ohio State quarterback, wide receiver evaluation for me is just always off. I was bad on Olave. I was bad on Wilson. I'm bad on Jackson Smith-Njigba. So I'm not taking my own thought process on this. I'll take JSN. I've seen enough people talk glowingly about this guy. But taking him at 13 over a tackle, I feel like that's going to be a conundrum that a lot of Jet fans are in. And I don't know where to go with that. I think I like more tackles in this draft than I do wide receivers. So maybe that says something. Maybe it's JSN at 13. You have him locked in for 5 years at a premium position. And then maybe it's 4th round offensive tackle. And you kind of have less expectation for that 2nd round pick to start right away. And you can have Brown start the season. I think there's a lot of value in that too. I think there's a lot of value there. Blitz Crew hops in. What's up, dude? He says, who takes the biggest steps forward minus LaFleur? So without LaFleur being here, I was originally going to say Elijah Moore would be that guy that I'd be like kind of keying in on. I would say Denzel Mims for me is the one that I'm most excited to see do well. I'm not exactly sure what to make of Laken Tomlinson because I don't know how much of that was really LaFleur and how much of that was just like a weird switch, the revolving door at tackle, never getting comfortable. I'm excited to see Tomlinson year 2. I think regardless of LaFleur or not, he would have been someone that I was hoping for a bounce back year. But I think as far as like player that performed poorly under LaFleur that I'm looking to see, it's Mims. It's definitely Mims. Red John comes in with a super chat. What's up, dude? What is up, dude? Says, this draft is very weak. If we don't get one of the tackles or Jalen Carter, I would rather trade back and get Mazzy or Maunch, Weipler or John Michael Smits, and picks. So listen to what you just said, Red John. You said this draft is very weak. And I do think the strength of this draft is rounds 2 through 5, but won't most people be thinking that? Like, what player do you see at the top of this draft that is so attractive that a team is going to trade up enough for you to get whatever number of picks you're looking? Let's call it a 2nd and a 3rd is what we're trying to get when we move back. Where do you have to jump up from to have that make sense? And what player are they coming up to get? Because I don't know if I see that player there. The corners look pretty good. 2 of them might go ahead of us. We'll probably have 1 or 2 tackles come off the board in front of us. All 4 quarterbacks, I think, should go, in the top 7 or 8 of this draft. I don't know. I want one of the tackles. I think I'm out on Jalen Carter. For me, Jalen Carter's a phenomenal talent, and for a different reason, but a similar feeling to what I had last year with Kayvon Thibodeau, where the guy was just kind of a little bit more about him and his brand, which, whatever. I get that. I mean, I shouldn't really be saying much. Sauce is sauce. He's literally marketing all over the place. But there was something about Thibodeau that sort of rubbed me the wrong way. And with Jalen Carter, phenomenal talent, he had the unfortunate issues in January. We heard some rumblings in December as far as like some character concerns. He has a very weird combine where he gets pulled away to go back down to was it Alabama or Georgia or wherever he wound up going to plead not guilty. Comes back, then has his pro day, shows up out of shape, has a really bad pro day. That's, to me, like, when you have such a weird combine experience, you need to ace your pro day. And to come in out of shape, Jalen Carter, for me, I'm just going to take him off my board. Him, and then he's not interviewing with teams outside the top 10. Sorry, dude. Like, be more humble than that. I'm out on Carter. Even if he makes it all the way to 13, this isn't like the Warren Sapp stuff where it's like, oh, I don't think, at least. I don't know. I am hoping he goes before us because I don't want to have to pass on him, but he's a player I'm not really keen on for the Jets. Tackles, I'm on board. Broderick Jones is the guy I want. Parrish, Johnson, or Broderick Jones. The pick Skoronski, I think it's a flexibility pick. Maybe a little concerning at tackle, but if you think he can play tackle and AVT can play tackle, then maybe going with a guard isn't too crazy. I shouldn't say guard, but Skoronski projects possibly as a guard, depending on the team you talk to, because of his shorter arms. I'm just happy with the best 5 offensive linemen in front of us, but I can see an argument for wide receiver. I really can. Vinny drops in with the super chat. What's up, Vinny? He says, is the 6-1 date still a big deal in the Rodgers trade? Seeing more about him to the Niners, and I hate it. What needs to happen to close this out? So the 49ers trade, I hear people saying that. Like, people have brought this up to me. The only place I've really heard this from is from Carton, and it's utter bullshit. There's absolutely nothing to it. The Packers are not trading him inside the NFC. Not going to happen. They have like 3 quarterbacks on their roster already. They're not going to take on a $60 million dead cap hit with that team. It's just not going to happen. I don't see it at all. I really think Rodgers is going to play in New York or, in New Jersey. His girlfriend lives in New York. I think there's a lot of things to really like about it. You have Hackett, you have Lazard. No one is having this go a different direction. The 49ers are not in on this. I do not believe it for a second. I'm not concerned. But what needs to happen to close it out? The Packers either have to present a really good trade offer to the New York Jets for me to want to do it prior to the draft, or I just sit back and wait. Give me the post-June 1st. I'll have you take some of that bad contract that you signed Aaron Rodgers to and eat some of that money. I'll give you my first-round pick in 2024 because I'm confident. It shows the rest of my team that I'm confident that we're going to be picking in the late 20s to 30 pick range because we have Aaron Rodgers. That's the confidence you have. I think that's worth the risk. You're sending a message to the rest of your team and to your locker room. But honestly, there's a shot you may not even have to give up the 2024 first. I think if you want them to eat some of the salary cap, I think that's probably the way you do it, though. It depends how much Douglas really wants to kind of attempt to hold the Packers' feet to the fire. I don't think it's wise to totally go scorched earth on him. I think you can get the leverage. There's that word again. I think you can get that kind of leverage or negotiating power by waiting a little bit and pushing them around a little bit. But you don't want to, off-put them so much that it just ruins a relationship. You got to remember Douglas and Goot, I think it was those two, were friends for like 20 years. So there's some level of respect there. They're operating in good faith. Get it done. A second-round pick and a conditional pick that based on performance is the way to go. If you want to call it the 2024 first because they ate some salary cap space, I'm cool with that too. I really am. I think it happens. Red John dropping in says, someone might want to move up to 13 for Bijan. Interesting. Let's see what let's see, who's behind us? Who would be jumping up, we think? Dallas. Pollard's coming off an injury, right? I don't know. Maybe. Running back in the first round, that early just feels so weird. Greg, nice of you to stop by. He says, I have to cut out early tonight. Just got called into work early. Have a great night, everyone. See y'all tomorrow for Talking Jets panel. Peace out. Have a good night, Greg. For you guys that don't know, maybe you do know, maybe you don't know, Nightbot has been chiming in the chat. We have a new Talkin' Jets channel. Myself, O'Leary, and Greenbean launched this channel. It's going to go live in July. So the Talkin' Jets panel, if you enjoy watching that podcast, is going to get shifted over there, primarily because my taxes are getting jacked up because of it. And I also think it's just fun to have the standalone for all three of us to kind of live in one spot. And it just makes a lot of stuff easier. We're going to have a bunch of really cool content coming your way. We're going to be able to divide and conquer a little bit easier than me just having everything on this one spot. So if you want to support that and head over there. We have a trailer for the draft promo, live draft promo. And if you leave a comment on that video, you get entered into all our t-shirt giveaways and jersey giveaways and all the stuff we're going to do. We actually got a new design coming out. We're going to launch a new design for that new channel in t-shirt form. Just waiting for it to finalize. And all you got to do is comment on that video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and every comment you leave on that video will qualify you for all our giveaways. You can do it as many times as you want. You can subscribe as many times as you want. I encourage it. All right. David D, damn taxes. Whoa. Hennessy says, Ryan, tired of being greedy. No. I pay out O'Leary and Greenbean. That's why my taxes are getting jacked up. Because I'm getting whacked for all the taxes, but I'm paying them out. So we'll straighten it out. Those damn taxes. That's where it comes in. But the Talking Jets panel, going to be a lot of fun. Going to live over there. We're going to do everything on my channel through the draft, and then we'll switch to over on that side. All right. Let's do our call-ins. I'm going to pin the link in the live chat so you guys can click on that if you would like to join the show. You get 3 minutes on the clock, and after 3 minutes,
That's it! You're out of here!
you get the chicken. So number is pinned in the live chat. Guys can call on in. Oh, we got our buddy Charles. Charles, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing great, Ryan. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm having myself a good night. Talk to me. What's on your mind?
Well, I think I did say this when you talked about the Odell Beckham Jr. thing yesterday. I do think that in some part of me believes that we kind of dodged the bullet because, this guy's coming off 2 of the last 3 years of really bad ACL injury. But I do think, I do wish him the best luck because he is a great talent and, everything else. I also do hope that we get a center either in the draft or in free agency. I'm sorry. Going all over the place. My mind
Is there a center that you're kind of eyeing? Like, do you want Ben Jones? Are you looking for maybe one of the guys in the draft? Is there someone that kind of piques your interest?
Well, I wouldn't mind getting Ben Jones, but the one center I want from this year's draft is John Michael Schmitz. I really like this young man. We need a franchise center. We haven't had one since the great Nick Mangold. We haven't had one. I mean, I will say this about Connor McGovern, not the Cowboys Connor McGovern, our Connor McGovern, laugh out loud. He provided us durability. He was, to me, an average center. To me, he didn't play with a fire. I heard Ben Jones is a dog. I heard he plays with a lot of fire. So,
I want some aggression. I want some anger on the offensive line. Like, I feel like we were missing the nasty on there. And that's something that, Joe Douglas feels like he wants that on the offensive side, just like the Jets have it on the defensive line already.
I agree. I agree with 100%. I definitely would like a center. Also, I want to talk. I said this while I was on the Let's Talk Jets radio the other day.
Sure.
I really love the Alan Lazard signing. I really do. In some way, I'm not saying he completely reminds me of this player, but the way he blocks, I'm like, this guy reminds me in terms of his blocking like Hines Ward. Remember how great Hines Ward was with the Steelers, especially when it
Sure.
came to his blocking? The guy was a tremendous blocker. He had wars with Ed Reed over there in Baltimore with his blocking scheme. I'm like, there was a highlight in Miami when the Packers came back and won where he destroyed 3 Dolphins defenders. Alan Lazard.
Yeah, I think the blocking, I think the asset that he brings is almost like what we kind of wanted. I don't want to say what we wanted Denzel Mims to be, but like, because the speed's not the same. That's totally different style of play. But I love the big body frame that Lazard is, and I think he provides something different that Garrett Wilson has, and then Mecole Hardman has. I think the three of them can complement one another a lot better
Well,
than what we kind of had last year.
that's what I like the signing because we can't always have speed.
Boom! Charles, you did a great job, but you've been ejected from the cockpit. Getting antsy tonight. Booting you. We got Akeem joining the show. Akeem, how you doing tonight, brother?
Good. How you doing today, Ryan?
Hanging in there, hanging in there. How you feeling about this Odell stuff going to the Ravens? You upset?
Oh, not necessarily, man. I'm just more a bit, as you put in the selection, I'm just indifferent. I wasn't really focused on Odell. I mean, I feel like we're pretty short up at receiver. I just think my biggest grievance at this whole situation is just like, where does this leave us in the future? Like, obviously, I'm looking at Rodgers to play the maximum 2 seasons. So where the Jets as an organization going to be 3 to 5 seasons? Because, of course, we all want a Super Bowl, but are we willing to mortgage our future on the fact that he could potentially bring us a Super Bowl in a division he's never played in against a whole hotbed of talent out there that necessarily is just not as stockpiled in the NFC? So I'm just wondering, like, I want Rodgers. Don't get me wrong, I do. But I'm just wondering, like, I don't want to look back in this 3 to 5 years. I'm like, damn, this just looked like the whole Brett Favre situation all over again. And we only lucked up with the Favre situation is that eventually, of course, we got Sanchez. But with the way we're mortgaging draft picks, we won't even be in the contention for even a Sanchez-like.
So I would be a little less concerned, I think, because let's say we get Rodgers for the 2 years, which I agree, I think is probably what winds up happening. So you have him 2023 for $15 million or $16 million, 2024 for about $32 million, and then he has a $60 million dead cap, assuming nothing else gets done with his contract this year. That's why I'm kind of hoping June 1st happens, because if June 1st comes along, then that gives the Packers a little bit more money where they could eat a portion of that contract. But let's operate in the thought that this trade gets done prior to that, and we take on the full brunt of the $60 million in 2025. So it's either $60 million in 2025, or it winds up being, I think it's either $15 million and $45 million, or $30 and $30 million, whatever it is, over 2025 and 2026. All our big contracts for our young players, so like Sauce, AVT, Breece Hall, all those guys, they wind up getting paid. They'll get their contracts before then, but they'll get their money, like big salary cap hits, in 2026. So the dead cap isn't really so bad with Rodgers. It's actually like perfect, this 2-year window, and then take it on the chin in 2025. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. And in my opinion, I think the Jets are hoping they get one more year of evaluation of Zach Wilson, and then you might be able to make a determination post-draft next year, or maybe just leading up to the draft, where you say, okay, we're going to exercise Zach's 5th-year option. We're going to let Aaron Rodgers play out this year, and then he's either going to retire or he's going to go to another team and do something else. And I think that's a fine way to go with it. And if Zach is as bad as I've heard people tell me that he's going to wind up being, then you know what? You eat as much dead cap as you can in that year. You plan on probably not making the playoffs because of that dead cap hit anyway. And then you just have a high upside player in Zach Wilson, because you're not going to be able to draft that athletic profile while you have Aaron Rodgers on the team. You're just going to win too many games to get that level of prospect. And it may be a long shot for him to work out. But I would take that gamble on Zach. His 5th-year option in 2025 is going to end up being the lowest of the 4 available 5th-year options, because he's not going to hit the 50% threshold for playing time. So it's not as bad as people think. It's still a lot of money. It's going to wind up being like $20 million for a quarterback that has played piss poor the first 2 years of his career, and we would have not seen anything, hopefully, on the field for 2 years of Aaron Rodgers. So it's definitely a huge gamble. But then if he's that bad, then you're going to set yourself up really good for 2026 with a quarterback draft class that could, imagine, include Arch Manning. Not that you're planning for that, but I like the idea of going all in on Super Bowl, 2 years with Rodgers, throwing up the Hail Mary for Zach 2025, and then hitting the reset button in 2026 if it doesn't work out with Zach at that point.
Okay, I like that. Last thing before I'm ejected, what happens with Quinnen Williams?
Ooh, Quinnen's going to get re-signed. I would be very surprised if Quinnen doesn't get extended. I think he is totally different than the Muhammad Wilkerson situation. This guy looks like he's hungry all the time. I think having good edge rushers really unlocked him. I wish we got to see 2 years of really stout play from him, but I do think we saw enough from him in the lineup versus out of the lineup that Douglas realized just how important this guy is, and I think they'll get him signed for it'll be about 4 years, $100 million, $24 million, $25 million a year. I think he was worth more than Simmons, who just got paid like 23.5. But I think we'll see that closer to training camp. I think the Jets may have to wait until they restructure a few guys. Rodgers comes in and guys rework some of their deals. I think CJ probably restructures closer to September because you can only restructure once every 365 days. And CJ restructured, I think, in August or September of this past year. So I think we got some time. I'm not too concerned.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, we got Joe joining the show. Joe, how you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, Ryan, long time no see.
I know. I feel bad. I didn't do the show last week. I wasn't feeling so great. Still, the daycare's still kicking the snot out of me. I feel like I've been blowing my nose. I had a box of tissues at my work for 2 years sitting on my desk. And in the last week, I blew through them. Like, it's just absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. But anyway, Joe, how are you feeling about this Odell stuff? How are you feeling about the Jets wide receiver room? Where are you at on this?
Feel great. I think Odell Beckham is a prima donna. Mm-hmm. I think he would have been a cancer in the locker room because he would have gotten not enough passes, probably in his eyes. He don't want to be a role player. He wants to be a number one. And there's not enough passes for him when you have Wilson, Lazard, and the guy from the Chiefs we just signed.
Yeah, we got Hardman. You got the two tight ends. You got the running back. Like, I agree. I think there would have been some level of concern there.
Yeah, Breece Hall's going to take away some passes from those receivers with his rushing game. So, to me, also the price, $15 million with incentives 18.
Oh yeah, no. I'm sorry. The contract alone was enough for me to say no, thank you on Odell. Like, good for you, Odell. I'm glad you called us because that tells me the Jets are still desirable. You're hoping the Jets are going to give you the same kind of contract, but you know it's in your best interest to go take the money while you can in Baltimore. So I got no issues with Odell. Glad he got paid. Glad the Jets did not fork that over.
I would love D-Hop, but the problem is he's going to want too much money too.
Well, that's just it. If I'm D-Hop, I want at least as much as Odell. And if he's getting, let's just say, even $15 million, that's more than I really want to give. Like, even the 10.5 for Corey Davis, I think you could probably have some type of situation where you restructure him for the 2 years of Aaron Rodgers and maybe drop his salary cap hit a little bit this year, but maybe give him more guaranteed money over the course of two. And I think Corey Davis would be willing to do that, to play with the best quarterback that he would have had in his entire career so far.
Yeah. You know what? He's a good team player. The only thing I worry about Corey Davis, I like him as well. I just think he gets injured too much, man. That's
what's kind of nice about having him in that particular role, right? Because you have Wilson, you have Lazard, you have Mecole Hardman, and then in theory, I do think we probably bring in Randall Cobb at some point, and then you still have your tight ends, you still have your running back. Like, you don't have to rely as heavily on someone like Corey Davis.
And I agree 100% with you. I think Broderick Jones is the man. I like Paris, but I think Broderick Jones would be the smart choice. I think to go defensive tackle or receiver at that number is not wise, at least in my opinion. That's not where our needs are.
Yeah, the tackle position just seems like it's the most critical. Like, you can pass on a wide receiver there, and you're still going to be buzzing, like crazy. So I'm not as concerned with that particular move. Maybe it's a situation where the Jets are saying, hey, we need to have JSN and Broderick Jones on the board, And now we'll make the trade where it's 13 to 15 because now we know the Packers are going to jump up to 13 to take JSN. The Patriots, you probably have to roll the dice on whether or not they'd take a tackle. You hope they probably don't. And then you take Broderick Jones at 15, and now all of a sudden that trade has created a situation where you kind of eliminate the player that the Patriots want, but also get the player that you want potentially. It's interesting to see where it all shakes out because I do tend to agree. I feel like you could pass on wide receiver in the first with the stockpile you have, but given the offensive line woes last year, even though I don't think we'll have that many injuries like we did this past year at one position, I think it's just wise to reset the tackle clock. At the very least, you have someone young to take over for Brown when he's all done. But Joe, you have been ejected from the cockpit. All right, next up we got Matt, and then we got Pooch Guy. So Matt, what's up, dude? Welcome to the cockpit.
What up?
Hanging in there. How are you feeling about this Odell stuff?
So, like, at first, because, like, I was at my uncle's house yesterday, and, like, I saw he went to the Ravens. I'm like, damn, I wanted him. He didn't even get to come to visit. And then I saw the contract. I'm like, oh, they could have him. Like, I'm not paying him 18.
That's exactly where I was. So I didn't get the news about Odell getting traded, or I didn't see the trade first. I saw the contract. It was like Odell to the Ravens, 1 year, $18 million. I was like, oh, good. I'm very glad. I didn't have like the upset part like happen to me.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I would have loved Odell because he's just, like, so talented, but he hasn't played. He didn't even play last year, and he's 30 years old, battled through a bunch of knee injuries, and they're giving him 18 a year. I mean, don't get me wrong, now Lamar Jackson's going to stay, so it might have been the right decision, to be honest, but...
Yeah, I almost wonder if that like the conversation that Odell and Lamar had in FaceTime, they're like, yo, Odell, I'm glad you got your money, but, dude, you're going to have Tyler Huntley throwing you the ball. That's sort of the conversation I envision happening. But yeah, look, Odell's expectations in Baltimore are number one wide receiver. His expectations here and the pay level would have had to have been different, I think.
Yeah. But I guess he's
now, where do you think the Jets go with 13? Do you think wide receiver is an elevated need at 13, or do you think we still go tackle?
I think you got to go tackle just because, like, the line was atrocious last year. And we're still deep at the wide receiver position. Like, I saw someone tweet this out. OBJ was a want, not a need. So, like, we still have we still have Wilson, Lazard, Hardman, like Corey Davis. Those are 4 good wide receivers. And if we want to, we could just draft one in one of the mid rounds, and he'll probably turn out pretty, like, solid. So, I'd say you probably go Broderick Jones, or if Paris Johnson. What's his name again? The one from Ohio State.
Yeah, Paris Johnson. I think I'm good with really any one of the 3. Broderick Jones is the one that I'm kind of eyeing just because he's the SEC tackle. Only played tackle for 2 years. Georgia had a phenomenal season the last 2 years. And then you also have no sacks given up in those 2 years. So you're going up against the best defenders in the SEC, have given up no sacks. I've heard him compared to Broderick Jones, which gets me compared to DeBrickashaw Ferguson, which gets me all sorts of excited as a Jets fan. And I just think that the 2 years of SEC play gives you so much more upside compared to guys that have played 4 full years. You kind of know them more as like a polished product. I think there's more growth potential maybe with Broderick Jones and letting him sit and learn maybe a little bit behind someone like a Brown,
like a Brown
over at left tackle. Maybe that's not the worst scenario to have happen.
But it would be interesting to see if we got JSN and Garrett Wilson back together. That would be pretty good.
It would be absolutely wild. But Matt, I love you, and you have been ejected from the cockpit.
You're out of here!
Good call, Matt. Good call. All right, Pooch Guy coming in. What's up, dude? Welcome to the cockpit.
What's up? What's up? First time caller.
I'm glad to have you.
Upstate New York resident, and you, Matt, Green Bean, Jake Asman, you guys have saved me from the pit of despair of the beat and all that. I just wanted to get that out there. I finally feel like I have some friends that are also Jets fans. But,
we're all in this together. That's probably my favorite thing about this whole community is like, I'm not by myself. I've got like 3 Jet fans in my town. I shouldn't say that. I got more than that.
Yes.
It's nice to know we're all in this together.
Absolutely. But as far as Odell, like I was very much taking the stance of Green Bean. Like if he was here, cool. Like let's roll. But double ACLs, I just wasn't like overly ecstatic about it, but I would love to pivot and use some resources and definitely go get like Kareem Hunt so we can really baby Brees Hall back in. Because when he went down, I mean, that was the gut punch of all gut punches. And
Yeah,
I think
seriously,
if we
I don't know. I don't know. I guess it depends how they feel about Carter and how they feel about Bam. We brought back Ty Johnson. I do think we baby
but
Brees
like
Hall coming back.
Ty Johnson could be a camp cut. And
I agree.
Like Michael Carter, I like the guy. I really wish I hope to God he has a real bounce back year because he is definitely a leader in the clubhouse. But he scares me because he's a little guy. I like Bam, but I think having a Kareem Hunt back that could just, hey, if
I think I lost Pooch guy.
necessarily have a proven guy that could do that yet.
Yeah, look, Kareem Hunt, if you can get him in here for not a whole heck of a lot of money, maybe it's something you consider. I was not thinking running back, I'll be honest. If there's another, I would rather go later round draft pick on a running back than I would want to spend on a free agent. Because you got to think Kareem Hunt would get at least $4 or $5 million at the very least coming in here. And that's just more than I want to spend on a position that I consider an area of strength, especially because I want to give the lion's share of carries to Bam or to Brees. And I don't want to give up on Michael Carter. Like, Michael Carter's on this team through the duration of this year in my opinion. And then, maybe you make a decision after this year. But yeah, I like our running back room. I don't think we necessarily need to change it. Pooch guy, you've been ejected from the cockpit. Tigo, you want to come on camera or you want to do video? Give me a thumbs up for camera. All right, cool. Let me get this over here, and I think I can do this. Bam! What's up, Tigo? How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you, man?
I'm hanging in there. The daycare stuff has been kicking my butt. Not fun.
No, it's
sicknesses. Ugh.
Yep.
How's Ben doing over there?
I'm doing good. I'm happy that we haven't gotten to a stage where we've because I'm a stay-at-home dad. Like, I've been able to we've been able to
idolizing you
avoid
right
all
now.
of that.
I'm hoping I get to that point. That's like the golden dream. Just stay at home dad
stay
life.
home and do all that stuff. It's cool. I just see, you see everything. You don't miss anything.
Yeah.
He's always around. Like, he's sleeping right now, and I miss him already.
Oh yeah, dude. So my wife's brother gave us these. I don't know if you had them as a kid, like the wooden tracks with the Thomas the Tank Engine stuff with the magnets on them and they connect and everything. So Shay's just picking them up and the train cars are kind of dangling together and they drop down. And Shay's only 9 months old at this point, so she's not really knows how to play with them. But man, it's just cool watching her figure stuff out. It's fun.
Have you started food yet?
Oh yeah, dude. So this girl eats everything: buffalo chicken dip, hummus, fucking mozzarella cheese, pulled pork, you name it. She tried salmon already. This kid eats everything.
Dude,
it's nice.
Same. Ben will yell at me and my wife if we're eating and we have the audacity to not give him a piece. He'll throw a temper tantrum.
I don't get the temper tantrum, but I'll get the little
Yeah, he'll be like, wait, where's mine? It was hilarious. We were eating and I did this pressure cooker stew chunk meat or whatever, and he just reached onto my wife's plate and took a piece and then ran off with it. And I was just like, wait, what? What is he doing? And then he just sat down in the middle of the living room, looked at us, and then started eating it. And we were like, is he allowed? And we were Googling it, and then he sat there, he ate the whole thing. I was like, dang, man. He eats everything. He doesn't care. It's so cool, man, just seeing all the growth and all the stuff that's happening.
It's fun. It's fun. Now, enough about our kids. How you feel about Odell?
I think everybody's reactions that you're hearing, everyone, it was just he was a luxury, right? And not a need. And of course I wanted Odell. Whatever you think about him and his injury concerns and his things like that, he would have been a net positive for this football. He is right now, even with the injury concern, probably a better wide receiver than Allen Lazard, Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, McCole Hardman, all of those guys.
Mhm.
But $18 million.
That's way more than I wanted to pay. I'm glad we weren't in on it at that
I was
point.
at half that number. And the thing that really made me kind of like feel good about this whole situation was that you could tell he went to the Ravens because of the money. He wanted to be a Jet.
Oh, he called the
Because you
Jets up
don't
after.
call-
He's like, can you match this, please? Like, what do you think? Like, one last shot. Like, dude, sorry, too much. Like, good for you,
don't
but
make
can't
that
do it.
call. You don't make that call to match. It wasn't to beat. That wasn't the report. He called the Jets asking if they could match that offer. And of course, Joe Douglas isn't an idiot. He's not going to do that. So I'm in full go trade, not this year's 7th because you don't have it, not next year's 7th because you don't have it. Go trade 3 years from now 7th and go get me D-Hop. Because there's no
Restructure
way
the
he's going
contract.
to.
Let's go.
Have you seen the numbers behind it? I think it was
It's
the
19 million this year and like just under 14 million next year.
But what
That's
I mean
a
is,
lot.
theoretically, I looked at the over the cap situation and those void years that are on his contract right now.
He doesn't have
come
void
with
years.
him. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. The
He's
tweet
got 2
goes,
years
you
left.
can add 3 years
Correct.
to the back end in void years, and you can lower his cap hit this year to $5 million, next year $10 million, and then just have a $5 million and then you can spread it. You can really finagle the cap situation, and with how the cap is about to explode, having a DeAndre Hopkins dead cap hit on the books for like $4 or $5 million over the next couple of years, I'm not that worried about it. And then the previous caller said something that I think I've been all in on for a while. We desperately need a running back. This isn't we desperately need a running back. You can't rush Breece Hall back. I love me some Michael Carter, but he fell off last year hard. Bam Knight.
Do you think any of that had to do with quarterback play and offensive line play though? Like that, like to me, I feel like
Absolutely.
Carter's a prime candidate for a nice bounce back year this year.
Well, of course, right? You're always going to have to look at the offensive line falling apart. But are you willing to bank your run game on that fact? That's the point. Kareem Hunt's
How did you feel about Bam Knight? Were you like
after the Chicago game? Show me what he did. I love Bam. Like, here's the thing: people are going to.
I feel like he could
he
sell
hates
out
Michael Carter.
as
He
soon
hates
as Mike
Bam
White
Knight.
got hurt. As soon as Mike White got hurt, dude, the pieces fell apart because every team was like, "Yo, let's just put 8-9 in the box." Like this quarterback, Strebler, Wilson, screw it.
Absolutely. And I totally get that. But what was Michael Carter has missed time both of the first 2 years of his career, right?
Sure.
He's missed time. Bam Knight was, as good as he was a undrafted free agent who couldn't make the roster, right? It took Breece Hall going down to make the roster. And while Breece Hall, in my opinion, is a top 5 running back in the NFL, is coming off of a serious injury, I would, like you said it before, put the kid on IR. Don't let him play for 4 weeks. Just don't even give him the option. Just put him on IR. And a Kareem Hunt contract, I looked it up. Like no one's been reaching out to him for more than $4 million. Like his market is like under 4. You're telling me Kareem Hunt for 1 year under 4? Nothing guaranteed, doesn't make a ton of sense.
I mean, I would be good with it, but I don't know. If I would have taken Jamal Williams for $4 million, I should absolutely want Kareem Hunt for $4 million. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. I like the personality of Jamal Williams maybe a little bit more than I do Kareem Hunt.
Of course. And Kareem Hunt's kind of a scumbag, right? Like
No, well, that's exactly it too. It's like
19-year-old in the face.
Yeah.
Wasn't that his thing? Punch your 19-year-old girl in
Go
the
get
face
me
and then
like
kick her when she
Dalvin
fell?
Cook. How much you gonna make? Well, you want to come over here? Come on, Cook.
It's one of
1
those
year.
things of just like I'm all about just stacking every aspect of this team as much as we can. Like that's why I look at it and I go, dude, if one of these tight ends are there in the second and we get Ben Jones, I might take the tight end. I love Kenny Aboa. I love Nick Bawden, but like competition is always a good thing. And getting better is always a good thing. I'm never going to look at
Is there
any
a tight
position-
end? How many tight ends do you think are worthy of that type of selection? Like for me, I think Kincaid is just so much better than everyone else. I don't know. Like I like Michael Mayer.
Michael Mayer is tight end 1 for me. I love
dude, I like
Kincaid. Don't get me wrong.
I love
But Michael-
Kincaid. I don't want to take one in the
Kincaid
first round
reminds
though.
me No. I'm saying like if one's there at 42,
Yeah,
that's a different conversation. You know what I mean?
I could
Like,
if
what
you get
happens
Ben
if
Jones,
Mayer
I could
falls?
totally understand. If you get Ben Jones in free agency, I have no problem waiting a little bit on the center. If you can get the center in the 4th round, Ricky Stromberg is the guy I really have been kind of championing for like a long time. In the 4th round, I don't know. Get him to play guard as a backup for a little bit and then, learn behind Ben Jones. I'm afraid to like go with Ben Jones with the concussion issues and then like punt on center in the 2nd round when you have like possibly 3 of the top 4 guys sitting there for you.
Again, there's a lot of options there. Like the big story for me that broke that no one is talking about because it's like, well, why would the Jets do this? But it makes a ton of sense. There's a confirmed report that the Buffalo Bills want to come up.
Ooh.
And 13 is the prime spot to come up because
who do you think it is? The running back?
It's Jackson Smith and Jigba. They want another premier pass catcher.
Oh, dude, I'm not giving that to him.
I would. I'm not scared of JSN.
What are you getting? What are you getting?
Oh, a first, a second, a 4th. Like that's the trade, right? It's a 1st, a 2nd, and a 4th if you want to come up, especially because it's the
Where are they picking?
division.
They're picking mid-20s?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. I would do it.
man.
I'm not scared of JSN. JSN, like here's a great
No,
comment.
but I'm afraid of Buffalo. I don't want to help them
Why?
in any capacity. Dude,
You're not. JSN is JSN going to beat DJ Reed or Sauce Gardner or even Michael Carter II? I don't think so.
Probably.
Look, I love JSN. I love JSN.
Probably
But
not,
he's coming
no.
off of an injury, and
Sure.
in most wide receiver classes, he's not even a 1st-round wide receiver.
I would agree with that. I do think that. So if you think
Were
you
you
could
scared
get
of
what
George
a first,
Pickens last year?
I had George Pickens as my number 2 receiver behind Jameson Williams.
That's crazy.
I
had
know.
enough out of the first round.
I was like, he's one of my. If I was looking at guys, the only 2 first-round talents I thought I saw last year. I shouldn't say only, but the ones that like the 2 best I thought were the 2 guys that tore their ACLs. I was like, it sounds crazy, but those are my 2 favorite wide receivers if they can bounce back, and I think they're going to be the 2 best. I shouldn't say that. Garrett Wilson, gonna crush it. But yeah,
I had London Wilson.
I liked London, but I think his like nagging injuries kind of irked me a little bit more on him, and I pushed him further down. I don't know how to grade Ohio State wide receivers. I'm flat out admitting it. I don't care. I was wrong on Olave. I was wrong on Wilson. I'm gonna be wrong on JSN. So I'm just gonna say I would take JSN because clearly, like if Garrett Wilson loves the guy and everyone else loves the guy, I'm clearly wrong. I'm okay.
I think the whole thing with Jackson Smith and Jigba is that he isn't a can't miss prospect. You know what I mean? Look, you know how there's like
is there a
certain
player
players
that you
are
think
can't
is
miss?
though?
At 13,
13?
there's 2. There's 2 guys where I look at it. If they're both there, I would move back, and that's Anton Harrison and Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones being the number 1. If Broderick Jones is there at 13, you're gonna have to really pay to get me to back off of Broderick Jones because he has he doesn't have a ton of experience at tackle, but he has that upside. Like when you look at how he plays and how fluid he is, he has like best tackle in the NFL kind of caliber.
I like Broderick Jones a lot. I've been saying that the whole draft process. He's my pick at 13.
Tackle 1. He's tackle 1
I think
for
he
me
is.
in this class. And then the other guy that I would take at 13 that I would feel really confident in is Anton Harrison. Because he, those are the guys that when we look at the end of this tackle class, which by the way, I think there's going to be 6 tackles taken in the first round. I think we're going to see 1 wide receiver taken in Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then all of the tackles are going to go in the first.
So what do you say? You think Wright, Harrison? Who's the other one? The kid from Ohio
the
State.
other
The
Jones,
other one?
DeJuan Jones.
DeJuan.
Yeah, you're going to see probably in order. You're going to see. You're probably going to see Paris Johnson Jr. be the first guy taken because he has the highest floor, lowest ceiling. Then you're going to see Skoronski go to a team that maybe needs a tackle, maybe needs a guard, and they'll figure out where he's going to play. Then you're going to see.
I feel like Skoronski going to the Bears first, then Paris Johnson going to the Titans, then Broderick Jones going to the it just kind of feels like those moves make sense. But then you get into that like Anton Harrison.
Anton Harrison
right.
would be a top 15 pick. Like
I don't know. I think I know the
right?
least about him of all the tackles right now.
If you keep it going, right, then the Jets go at 13 and they take a tackle. The Patriots could take a tackle, but let's not give the Patriots a tackle. The Steelers could take a tackle, so there goes Anton Harrison.
Mhm.
I don't think Lyle Collins is going to be ready by the draft, so they're not going to feel comfortable there. And I don't know if what's his name, that their old left tackle before they signed Ben Jones or Orlando Brown Jr. I don't know if he's going to stay there. So you need a right tackle. So there goes Darnell Wright, and I feel it in my bones that Kansas City is taking DeJuan Jones. Like even if other, like I think they're taking DeJuan Jones. Just protect your franchise quarterback. You went and signed Jawan Taylor. Just protect Patrick Mahomes, man. That's all you need. He doesn't need wide receivers. The guy's going to throw everybody open. Just make him not have to run around. He takes too many sacks for the best quarterback in the NFL. It just 6 guys are going to go in the first round. I think so. Like, and that's my hot take of, and then only 1 wide receiver is going to go in JSN.
Ooh.
Probably.
I think more than 1 wide receiver
right.
goes purely because the value of wide receiver contracts have kind of exploded. I would say JSN is the only receiver that I would contemplate taking in the first round. I'm kind of out on the rest of the crew there. Tigo, any last words before I eject you from the cockpit?
Nah, man, I'm 17 days. That's it. Well, 16 now. We're basically at the end of the day. We're a little over 2 weeks till the draft. I'm excited. This is going to be a really, really cool draft because we're going to get Aaron. We're going to do some exciting things. It's going to be awesome.
Dude, I'm looking forward to it. Guys, Tigo is going to be on the draft party stream coming on day 2. We'll set up a time for him. He's coming on. I'm looking forward to talking some more ball with you, dude. I will see you in the live chat, but you have been ejected from the cockpit. Tigo, always a good time. We've got Carson joining the show. Carson, how you doing tonight?
What's going on, Ryan?
Hanging in there. How you feeling about this whole Odell news? You upset at all?
Oh, there's a huge delay. Hold on. There's a huge delay. Give me a sec.
It's all right. Just listen. I think you can listen to the call if the stream's like not up.
I'm not getting any sound out of the call. That's why.
Okay. I'm going to boot you real quick. Call back in. I'll pick you up. All right. I guess let's throw the chicken. Boom. Carson ejected. All right. Let's give him another go. All right. Carson, can you hear me? Ooh.
Okay. I will deal with the delay. What was the
Fire
question?
away.
You asked.
How do you feel about Odell?
I don't care. For $18 million as a slot wide receiver, don't care. Just because I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is a real option in this draft. I think a lot of people are underrating how good he actually is. That 2021 season when he had 1,700 yards out of the slot next to our boy Garrett Wilson. You know, if Garrett Wilson is vouching for the guy, even though he was his teammate in college, and if you just watch his pure route running ability, and if you remember last year, I did say that the Jets were going to take Garrett Wilson at 10. It was a hot take. I did say that. And they wound up taking him at 10. And I think JSN is a better prospect than a lot of people give him credit for. I love Jordan Addison too. But Odell, $18 million?
Crazy,
I had him at like 11
right?
or 12.
Crazy. That's that. Yeah, I was hoping for like half of 18. Getting 18 is like, yo, dude, I'm glad you asked if we'd match it because it makes me feel good that the Jets had the opportunity and said, nah, we're good. It's all right. You have fun down in Baltimore.
You know, so like for the slot wide receiver position, it shows that they are looking for another slot guy because Odell would have primarily played in the slot for us. If Corey Davis is going in the trade to the Packers, you're going to have Wilson on the outside, Lazard on the outside. You're going to have Mecole working in the slot as a fourth wide receiver, and then you still need that Elijah Moore replacement, and that's where I think Jackson. I have a way higher grade on JSN than I do Jordan Addison. The injury for Addison scares me a little bit, but for Jackson Smith and Jigba, his explosiveness and the way he can get open with his route running is why I primarily have him over Addison. And he fits well with us because we need a slot wide receiver. You know, so you're talking about Wilson being – now you also got to remember, Garrett Wilson's our superstar wide receiver. We need to keep the guy happy. We need to keep him happy. So and make him sign that second contract. Why not get his buddy from college? Why not get his buddy from college?
That's kind of like a weird. I understand what you're saying because it's almost like the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase sort of situation where you had two guys that played together in college that work well off one another. Now one's a quarterback, one's a receiver. That is a little bit of a different dynamic, of course. But if you get receivers that like playing together, that want to stay together, maybe you say, hey guys, let's not take like the lion's share of money and let's like get paid well, but also continue to work together. Like that is appealing to me. And the instant chemistry seems to be like a nice little boost to that as well. Carson, thank you so much for the call. Been ejected from the cockpit. All right, up next we got Joe from Long Island. Joe, how you doing tonight, brother? Joe says, oh, he just booted himself. All right, we've got Joe, your Atlanta Jets fan. Joe, how you doing tonight, brother? Joe, how you doing tonight? I can hear you. Can you hear me? I lost him. Maybe it's my connection tonight. I might have a, bad go of it. All right. Let's try Pat. Pat, how you doing tonight, brother? Pat, can you hear me? It's definitely me. It's definitely me. All right. Let me see if I can... all right, Joe, you're an Atlanta Jets fan. I do see you calling. I'm going to see if I can turn off my thing on this side real quick, and then I'm going to try it again. All right, guys. Try calling it again. Hopefully that does something. I don't know. I guess I get some weird lagging issues with this software. Slightly annoying. All right. We got Pat joining the show. Pat, how you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, Ron. Not bad. Yourself?
I'm hanging in there. How you feeling about this Odell stuff? You upset that he went to the Ravens?
Not for his money.
Yeah, right. $18 million a year for 1 year. That's crazy, dude.
Like you and all the Talking Jets panel have always said, he's not the same Odell in New York. Me personally, with a dad who's a Giants fan, I would have loved it. Go, hey, you remember that one-hit catch? Look what color he's wearing.
Right? Like he's on our team now. Yeah, he was at his prime when he was in New York. It was nice watching him flourish. And I think I feel better knowing that the Jets had the opportunity to still get him. And it wasn't the fact that we, didn't have Aaron Rodgers or that we were, he just wanted to go to Baltimore more. He wanted to be a Jet. He wanted us to match the offer. And the Jets were like, nah, dude, like we're good. That number's a little too high for us.
Yeah. But
where do you feel we go at the 13 pick now? Do you think receiver comes into play?
That's kind of what I want to talk about. I know it's not going to happen, but I know a lot of you guys love numbers and love stats. The fact that everybody's high on one season of good competition for Kincaid, to me, does not make sense that you would not take Mayer. I'm a Notre Dame fan, Ryan, so I keep hearing you butcher the last name.
I am Mayer.
Notre Dame has produced tight ends and O-line for the last 15 years.
Oh, yeah.
And Baby Gronk is the kid's nickname.
Oh, yeah.
He's the all-time Notre Dame leader in every tight end category. And Pro Football Focus graded him at an 89.9 for pass block and like an 87.8 for run block, which was also higher than the boys from Georgia.
I was going to say pretty solid. I don't know if that's in relation to his position or in relation to like everyone overall, because I have like a hard time believing he would be as good of a blocker as like a tackle would be. But like tight end for me is like
just position.
Yeah, see my panic with tight end is that if you take a tight end in the first round, he has to be elite. where like I don't know if we need that, knowing we have Conklin and Uzama. If they take a tight end, I think it means Conklin or Uzama is going to get traded to Green Bay.
Personally, I don't see it happening. It'd be a fan pick for me
It has
because
to be
I
like a
had to
trade
watch.
down, I think, right? I agree though. I like the talent at tight end more than I like maybe some of the wide receivers. JSN's probably the only one I think I would be okay with.
Like I said, it'd be a fan pick because for years I had to watch Justin Tuck be a Giant, and my dad repping the jersey and rubbing it in my face. He's like, "Where's your Notre Dame player?" I'm like, "He's on the bench."
He's like, can't do anything. All right, so for you, I hope we get some. What if we get Patterson, the center guard, in the later rounds?
I would love that.
Right?
But
See, he was a starting center for a long time. Winds up moving over to guard this year. And positional flexibility, maybe? Who knows? Stock dropped a little bit this past year. I like the idea of rolling dice on him. Pat, thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, next up, we got Ice Force, and then Joe, your Atlanta Jets fan. Ice Force, welcome to the cockpit. It says you have yourself muted. I don't know if there's a button on your end that you have to click. Let's see. I'm going to put you back in the green room for now until you get that figured out. I'm going to go on to Joe, your Atlanta Jets fan. Joe, how you doing tonight, brother?
It was good, man. I'm a little bit at ease about the Odell situation.
Yeah, right. Like it was a little stressful seeing how much money he wound up going for. I'm glad we didn't pay him that.
Exactly. I was like, when I seen how much, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, y'all can have him. Because this funny thing about it is I knew we was trying to get him. We was trying to really lowball for him. Try to get him for the lowest price possible. That's why they sent Salah out to Arizona and have him out there, chilling and going to the Phoenix Suns game with him. It was really trying to wine and dine him. It was really trying to wine and dine him.
Sal's thinking like, oh, you come on over. Yeah, it's $7, $8, $9 million. But dude, come on over. $10.5 million. That seems like the perfect number for you. Like the perfect Corey Davis plug-in salary. Fits the bill. Quarterback wants him. I like that he offered. Like he wanted us to match. That makes me feel even better about not doing it.
Yeah, I wonder how that conversation went. I wonder if Joe Douglas said he just hung up the phone.
Yeah, he's like, how much? You say 18? Click, ejected. I like to imagine Douglas has a big button on his desk, like I got over here, and just hits the chicken, goes flying across the screen. Douglas is my spirit animal.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely the GOAT. But my whole thing about us looking for another wide receiver, I think any offensive weapon besides the offensive line is luxury at this point. I'm good with anybody. Even I noticed everybody's really not saying anything about Denzel Mims in a sense. It's his third, fourth year.
Dude, this has got to be the year for him, right? Just see what you got.
I think I had a whole conspiracy theory. My friends are still laughing at me because I have a group of friends. They're fans from all over, Jets, Saints. They just love laughing at me. But I'm like, look, I think Mike LaFleur was trying to sabotage the team. That's why he had
Dude, he was just, someone pissed in my Cheerios. They wanted me on the sideline. I'm not going to use any of the talent I have.
Right.
That's what I heard from LaFleur.
I'm noticing. Yeah, that's I noticed the first half of the season, the great play calling he was making, and then the second half, we didn't see none of those plays. We didn't see the counter run or anything like that. He didn't use Michael Carter like he did at the beginning of the year. I'm like,
Carter's drop off, I think, was the most disappointing from what he showed the year prior. Tomlinson for me. Well, that's just it. I think the ability of getting Hackett and having guys being excited for their offensive coordinator, I think that's going to be almost as big of an addition as any player you could have added not named Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Yep. That's my time, I guess.
Joe, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, let's see if we can go back to Ice Force. Let's see what Ice Force got going on. Ice Force, can you hear me? Welcome to the cockpit. Ice Force going once, Ice Force going twice. Boom.
You're out of here.
You're out of here. Let's see what else we got going on. What are you guys talking about in the chat here? Dakota J says Garrett Wilson went back home week 2 against Cleveland and straight owned them with Flacco as his quarterback. Wow. Yeah, that was an impressive game from him. 2 touchdowns, just like really feeling confident in Ohio. I love Garrett Wilson, and him playing with a legit quarterback this year. Game changer. Oh, Mr. Nightbot, look at you go. Follow the new Talkin' Jets channel. YouTube.com/@TalkinJets. Click on it, subscribe. Let me know what number you are. We're going to start doing all the Talkin' Jets panels over there come July. After our draft season is over, we take our 2-month hiatus. 2.5 month hiatus. Then we'll come back in July. Everything's going to live on that new channel. So thank you, Nightbot, for dropping some information in the chat for us. Edward Ziff drops in. He says, trying to figure out what Joe Douglas will do is like trying to pick the big deal of the day behind door number 3. Right? Ugh. You never know. Everything's kept close to the chest. I love what Joe Douglas is doing. Edward, I completely agree. Challenging. All right. Coming up, we got NY Jets fan 4 chiming in. What's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
What's going on, Ryan?
I'm hanging in there. How you feeling about the Odell news?
Honestly, man, I could care less. I think our wide receiver core is going to be pretty good. He wasn't going to be our number 1 regardless. Garrett Wilson, all these weapons, so he was going to be more like a fill-in 3rd, 4th guy. So I let him go to Baltimore. Let him get his money. I really don't care.
Yeah, right. It's like you have your reliable car, you have your fun car, and then you got like that luxury car, the weekend getaway car. You don't need it. It's cool to have, and you can show it off, but you're still paying the taxes on it. You're still paying the insurance on the car. It's like we could do without it.
Yeah, I was more calling in. I just want to hear your opinion on this. I've been thinking about the Rodgers trade, and to me, there's really no other date that makes any difference in this other than June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
The
I've
draft.
heard the April 17th one might be a pressure point because I think that's when players start to report for voluntary workouts. So maybe there's something like weird and squirrely that happens.
A little bit, but the notion where people are saying that it might wait till draft and they're gonna wait till the pick actually comes up to see if a player falls. Whether they get the pick now or later, it's not going to make a difference who falls to them. They'd rather probably have the second round pick so they could, if the player doesn't fall to them, they could probably do something with it. So what I've been thinking is, do you think it's a possibility that Joe Douglas and Green Bay, they have somewhat of like a negotiation come draft time for pick swaps, right? Then come the June 1st date, maybe it's like a conditional pick that goes their way to finalize the trade. But come draft time, there'll be trades between the 2 teams that'll involve compensation, but the actual trade won't be announced. You know what I mean? Like, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I wonder if could you execute part of a trade and then have the rest of it kick in as like a trigger later on? Like if if Aaron Rodgers is on the Green Bay's roster by X date, the Packers have to give like 3 first-round picks or something silly like that. Like that would be a weird trade to work out, but that would be interesting.
Let's say, like I've been thinking, like let's say, like the Green Bay wants to save that extra cap money, so come draft day, Joe Douglas and they negotiate on something like you get the 2nd pick, whatever. They'll give us a pick in return, but then like when the actual after June 1st to finalize the trade, the Jets will send like the 2024 conditional pick in order to finalize the trade. I was just thinking about
something like that. That's an interesting way to go about it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense why it's taking so long. And the only date that makes sense to benefit anybody would be after June 1st, so that Green Bay can save that money and he's a $15 million cap hit for us.
But like, why would so? My question, I guess, would be: the Packers have 10 draft picks in this year's draft. is there really that much of a need for them to get an additional pick? And is there really that much of an incentive for Joe Douglas to want to make a trade prior to the draft or during draft night? Like if I'm Joe Douglas and I'm Robert Saleh, I'm sitting back and I'm saying like, hey, let's see where we sit after the draft, see what kind of picks we feel comfortable moving for the guy that wants to come here on the team that has to get rid of him. Like, I think that June 1st deadline, like you mentioned, is big because I think they're going to eat a little portion of that salary cap bonus that's like kind of hanging in the distance. And I think that's when that'll be able to be triggered.
Well, let's say a player that Green Bay really, really wants ends up falling in the draft to 42 or 43. And they call up the Jets and they say, okay, like we really want this player. Give us this pick and we'll give you something in compensation for the pick, but it'll still be part of the Aaron Rodgers trade. You know what I mean? Because that's the only way I can see them waiting until draft day to get the pick. Like, why would you want to wait? If you getting the pick now or later is not going to determine who falls to you, right?
That's true, but I think there's also some level of mystery because the pick right behind us is the Patriots. So if we trade out now the Patriots know they might have to move in front of Green Bay to do something. So at least if you sit at 13 until they're on the clock, then they only have 15 minutes to really, decide at that point. And they're not really, there's nothing to decide, I guess, because the Patriots are either getting the player that the Jets pass on or that the Packers pass on at that point.
Yeah.
And maybe there's 2 players or 3 players that the Jets really like that they're comfortable. If all 3 are there, they're like, okay, hey, we'll forego giving up a second round pick and we'll do the swap of 13, 15 this year because the difference is negligible for us because we like one of these 3 players that are going to fall to us at 15, and that saves us a little bit of headache from giving up like an additional pick later on. I think there's a real shot that the Patriots are going to go JSN at 14. So if he's available there at 13, maybe that's the flip-flop. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't understand why this is taking. That's why I've been like going down that road of thinking that way, is because June 1st to me is the only date. Like I honestly think now that because it's taken, I honestly think it's not going to get finalized till after June 1st, just because of what the cap scenario is for Green Bay. That's just makes sense for me. So I
completely agree. And if I'm the Jets, I'm not giving up any picks in this year's draft. Let's have the discussion post June 1st. I would love to use my number 13, 42, 43. Dude,
JD
I love
can do that. Jesus, we better all start going. We better start building a sculpture of him.
Quote me. He's going to do that, and he's going to make Green Bay eat some of the salary cap for that $60 million bonus post June 1st. I've been saying it for a while. I think it really is going to happen. NY Jets fan 4, you have been ejected from the cockpit. That's a really interesting scenario. So the idea of having some sort of conditional trade now where the rest of the trade kicks in, like maybe you can create a deal where it's, hey, we'll flip-flop these picks now. But if Aaron Rodgers is on Green Bay's roster as of June 3rd or something along those lines, the Packers must trade 3 first-round picks. Like something absolutely bonkers, where it's like the Packers aren't going to be able to hold the Jets over the flames for giving them a pick this like now, but also waiting on the Rodgers stuff. I don't know if that can happen. It might be able to. Anyone who knows contracts more than me, let me know. That's an interesting scenario. I think everything gets done post June 1st. I know everyone thinks it's going to be by draft time. I'd sit and wait. I would sit and wait. Jerome Strax. What's good, dude? He says, where's Shay? She's in bed. It's 9:30. She's asleep. She goes down at 7 o'clock, 7:30 now. She's great. Falls asleep at 7 o'clock. Wakes up at 7 o'clock. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Harlan says Cobb should be coming. I do think Cobb ends up with the Jets for like $2 million deal, but I think that's only after the Rodgers trade happens. I don't think there's any reason to rush out and get Cobb right now. Dakota says Bryce Huff is incredible. Michael Carter 2 is awesome as well, alongside Sauce and DJ Reed. Yeah, I really like how our defense is shaping up. And you got DJ Reed for not a whole heck of a lot of money. Sauce was a home run of a pick at number 4. I like Huff as a situational pass rusher. So I'm curious to see what he ultimately gets paid after this year. We have him on the restricted free agent tender. Was a second round tender. I'm excited to see what we get from him. But it really feels like Carl Lawson's going to be on this team for this season. So now you're talking about JFM, Carl Lawson, Bryce Huff, Clemens, and Jermaine Johnson. You're loaded. You got to have these guys playing all over the defensive line. Have some reps at defensive tackle, D end. Now Huff is going to be your situational guy on third down. He's not too good at the protecting against the run. Gets upfield too quick. Harlan says, if the Ravens want to pay big dollars for the oft-injured player, it's on them. How many games will Lamar Jackson and OBJ be on the DL together? He means the IR. But yeah. What do they got? One ACL between the two of them? Lamar Jackson, I don't know what I would advise Lamar Jackson to do. There is a really big part of me that says do not play. If I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm sitting and waiting for Herbert, I'm waiting for Burrow, I'm waiting for Hurts to get their money. Because you got an injured player in Burrow that tore his ACL, getting paid, missed a ton of games. You have a running quarterback in Hurts that's going to get paid. Lamar kind of encompasses like the bad side of both those guys, where you got the running quarterback of Lamar and the injuries of Burrow. I think that probably still complicates things regardless. But if you start seeing those guys getting fully guaranteed contracts, for Lamar, why would you even try to play? Sit out the $32 million for this year. You don't get fined, or you sign your contract and you have one of those situations where you're constantly hurt, it's nagging. Although I don't know if a team gives you the money if you do that. Man, I don't know. Lamar's in like a bad situation. Lamar is doing exactly what you shouldn't do. And it's because he didn't have an agent. If I would advise any player to do the right thing, is get an agent. Because an agent would have told you, hold out after 2019. You want an MVP. Do not set foot on the field. That is when you're going to get your highest contract. Now, for me, I would have told him, hey, keep going. And just go, play it out. Go on the franchise tag. You'll be fine. And I would still say that for Lamar. Like, hey, play on the franchise tag. But because he had the injuries the last 2 years, I think that changes the dynamic just a little bit. Hindsight's 2020. The time to sit out would have been in 2019. Hold out for the big deal. You probably wouldn't have gotten a fully guaranteed contract, but you would have gotten a lot at that point. And because you played and gave the Ravens the benefit of the doubt, you were a team player. Now they're holding that kindness and those injuries that you suffered because of it against you in contract negotiations. I feel bad for Lamar. I really do. He's going to wind up getting paid. He shot himself in the foot, though, as far as like not having an agent. So he didn't get to have those back channel conversations with what other teams might be thinking about. The agent can do that. The agent's going to be able to talk to other players, other teams, and realize, oh, the money you want is not out there. You may want to take the Ravens deal. It's not the deal you want. Maybe you work on a shorter term deal so you can get the money you do want. Let's work on what the Ravens think you are lacking in as to why they're not giving you that money, and let's figure that out together. Him not having an agent absolutely screwed him. Oh, look, we got a Fins fan in here. The Jets are poverty. Aw. Is that coming from the team that hasn't won a playoff game since like well before the Jets? Like the Jets have the longest playoff drought, but when's the last time you fuckers won a fucking playoff game? Squish the fish, my friend. Suck it. Glad you're over here, though. It's all right. I just like talking shit. Kelvin says, how do you feel about Charles Johnson, the receiver in the 4th round? I'll be honest, I haven't done enough research. I'd have to actually look into him. I'd be lying if I said anything else. Ah, we got V-Man joining the show. V-Man, how you doing tonight, brother? V-Man, how you doing tonight? Can you hear me? I think I've got a delay again, don't I? I think there's a delay. Vinny, I'm gonna boot you. Just join back in. I'll answer the call again. For some reason, there's a little bit of a lag tonight. Maybe Becca's watching something. The internet's just like, no! I don't want to let you link up with people. Let's see. Mike Healthy Life, I see you in there. He says, how can I join? Just click the pinned comment in the live chat. There's a little comment on there with a link to the show. Vinny, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I think it might have been a glitch on my side. Can you hear me?
Right. I got you loud and clear. How you feeling tonight, dude?
By the way, to answer your question, you said, when's the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game?
Oh, yeah.
Last time we won a playoff game, Pokemon video games did not let you pick the gender of your character.
Wow, so that would have had to be 2006?
2000.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Pokemon
God, what's the last game I had? Probably, I think I had Crystal at one point. I started with yellow, red, and blue.
The first Pokemon game to let you select your gender. So that's how long it's been. 2001.
Wow.
2000.
Those damn Dolphins fans. Depressed down there. Sorry. Jeez. Feel bad.
Yeah, honestly, the OBJ, I don't care about the OBJ stuff. Like, let's be honest. The Jets were wise to not throw that type of money because we would have been mocked for it.
$18 million a year. I would have been pissed if we paid him $18 million a year. It'd be a horrible contract for us. For the Ravens, who may not even have a quarterback, different story.
Exactly. I don't care. Let them throw their money. Like, they want to pay an injured wide receiver coming off an injury who's already entering his 30s. Like, as Napoleon once said, never correct your opponent when he makes a mistake.
Right? Just let him keep doing it.
I'm just, like I said, I'm honestly just looking forward to everything, And all the Aaron Rodgers stuff, look, the Packers are going to crack. They want to get draft picks. We know that's going to happen. Do
we think so, though? I mean, they have 10 picks in this year's draft. Do they have to get another one necessarily? I don't know if they do.
I think they want it. I don't think they want. I think they want as much as possible.
Well, sure, but if it's like, let's say, a second now, or a first if you do it post June 1st because you eat some of the contract, wouldn't you rather have the 5-year first-round pick instead of the second-round pick this year? I think I might if I was the Packers. I could be wrong. Maybe you want the player to evaluate Jordan Love a little bit more, but I don't know. I would if how much they would have to give me a big discount to make the move prior to the draft. I think that's where I kind of stick to this.
Yeah, but look, here's the thing. Honestly, draft, post draft, whatever, it's gonna happen, and we don't have to worry about him being ready. It's Aaron Rodgers. He will be ready when the time comes to play. There's no worry about that.
Yeah, well, I think watching him work out with Lazard and all that makes me feel a little more confident now than I did maybe prior to all that stuff happening.
Yeah.
Vinny, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. Up next, we got Mike the Barber and then Jake. Mike, how you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, guys. So we hear the Packers always talking about they want to get a trade before the draft coming up, which that's great. And listen, we're the only team that they could draft them too. So I don't see how we're giving up anything significant.
Yeah, right. That's where I kind of fall on this is if we're the only one trading for him and we don't have to do it right now. I'm looking at the way Douglas responded to questions and I'm looking at the way Salah responded to questions. They seem very relaxed. It's going to get done at some point. Like, what's the rush to do it before the draft? Like, the Packers would have to make it such an attractive trade for me to do it now versus waiting a little bit later.
Sure. Yeah, I don't mind to wait. Why? What's the rush?
Yeah. What do you think about the OBJ stuff? Do you think the Jets are in the market for a wide receiver still?
I mean, listen, if you're any Jet fan, if you're really wondering, how we can't pay a guy $18 million that can't stay healthy for the last 2 years, I mean, the Ravens. That's just upset. I mean, you're talking about a respectful organization going sour, huh?
Yeah, now I question, maybe you start questioning the Lamar stuff a little bit more. It's like, well, man, they paid that guy $18 million to like be on 2 torn ACLs and like we were going to pay him half. Well, maybe they are wrong on the Lamar stuff and we should go and pay Lamar. I don't know.
No,
I look at
he's
Baltimore as a
gonna
really
play
smart
6
organization
games.
and that did not feel like a smart move.
No, that's come on, that's common sense, no?
I think part of it might be them trying to make it attractive for Lamar to want to come back. I think part of it might be like trying to boost morale within their own locker room. That's just a lot of money. The expectation level is different too, because Odell being down in Baltimore, he's being paid to be their number one. If he were to come here, we wouldn't have paid him that number one salary. It would have been like, hey, we can offer you $10 million because that's what we got from Corey Davis. If you can't fit into this very specific role that we want you to be, then it's probably not the right fit anyway. I just like the fact that the Jets were extended the offer to match and we said, no, we're good. It's all right. Like that to me at least shows that there's, the level of want for star players to want to be here if the money's even.
That's not a smart move to sign that guy. I mean, he's trouble. You're paying him. Come on. I mean, he's just not a Jet. Let's be real. I don't want.
I think the personality concerns were valid. I think the United incident this year with him kind of acting like an asshole was also very telling.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I get it. I understand why people wouldn't want him. And I think most Jet fans are probably in a same sort of mind space as you, where it's like, look, I'm not banged up over losing Odell. The contract was really I would say I was disappointed when we didn't get him, but as soon as I saw the number, I was like, all right, cool. I'm glad. Good for him. Mike, thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. Next up, we got our buddy Jake. Jake, how you doing tonight?
Good evening, man. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Are you beat up about this Odell stuff at all?
Nah, he's older Elijah Moore. That's all he is.
Yeah, I would say that I'm a little maybe more irked. I think I'm a little more irked about like trading Elijah Moore now that we didn't get Odell, even though Odell didn't cost us like it would have cost us a crazy ton. Like I think the value.
Not at all.
Really? Oh, God, the more trade just felt like we sold low a little bit.
Oh, we did. It wasn't JD's greatest trade. Listen, I love JD's moves. I thought we gave me the third rounder annoyed me. That actually kind of irked me a little bit. If you want to be irked about something, but listen, this guy was trouble. AJ Brown's comments, free Elijah. Like we knew where this was going. We all knew this was going. He's not committed to this team. He's committed to getting his money. Garrett Wilson is a better character player. Mm-hmm. They got Lazard. They've got Hardman. Where was Corey Davis? What's happening with him? So where was Odell in this? Was he going to come out and push everybody to the side and say me, me, me? I mean, I'm not dealing with that. I'm sorry, I'm not dealing with that.
I think it's a crowded room. It's one of those luxury situations. And now, are you more inclined to hold on to Corey Davis now, or would you possibly be looking a different route at wide receiver? Maybe the draft, maybe Hopkins. What's kind of on your mind as far as receiver goes?
I let Corey go. I just don't think he's worth the money. He's worth what, $10-11 million. I mean, I don't think he gets you 2-3 big catches a year, and that's it. He gets you nothing majority of the season. So, I was listening to Jake Asman this morning, and he was talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba. Look, I'm a diehard Ohio State fan. I wanted Garrett Wilson more than Debo last year, but we're not in a position right now to take another receiver. We've got to get this offensive line together because right now we don't have a center, guys. We don't have a center, and we don't have a tackle. Don't tell me Mekhi Becton we can trust right now. We don't have the offensive line that's fully there to make Aaron happy. and make the team happy. We got to get the line focus and linebacker and an offensive line. You want to throw a safety in there, fine. Those are the positions we focus on. Wide receiver, draft somebody in the 4th, 5th round. You'll find a little gem somewhere there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think for me, I want the tackle. It feels like the wisest move to make. The receiver stuff, I think, is interesting. If you're looking at like moving on from Corey Davis, I think I'm fine with keeping Corey Davis if he were to like restructure, like say, hey, we want to keep you for 2 years. Let's drop your cap hit this year. We have you for 2 seasons. Like I think there's something to Aaron Rodgers liking Corey Davis. If the Packers were trying to trade for Corey Davis last year or maybe trying to acquire him the year prior, that to me tells me Rodgers at least was interested in having him around. So I might lean more on that evaluation of Hackett and Rodgers with Corey Davis as to whether we keep him or not. JSN, I do tend to agree. I feel like tackle's a bigger need than wide receiver. I think Cobb could still come in. I think he's going to come in after Rodgers gets here, though. It's going to be like a $2 million 1-year deal. I don't think you think much about him. It's because what you would.
Corey Davis, you get rid of, you save money, you get Cobb in from you get the receiver you need. I think it makes a lot
but
more
I don't.
sense.
I don't think Cobb is a replacement for Corey Davis. That's the thing. Like I feel like Cobb would be more of a backup to Mecole Hardman than a replacement for Corey Davis. I feel like Corey Davis and JSN, those two could kind of swap in and out. Those two, but I feel like Cobb is more of like. Wilson, I think, is going to be on the outside. I think it's going to be Wilson, and I think it's going to be Lazard on the outside. And I think they want to have Corey Davis or JSN possibly operate out of the slot. Like Corey Davis is kind of that weird. Actually, maybe it's not Corey Davis on the slot. Maybe it's Wilson gets bumped inside at times where he gets a free release. I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like there's enough flexibility with some of these guys, and maybe they're in different situations because maybe Lazard is in more if you're trying to block. I don't know. It's fascinating to see how it goes. The fact that they were in on Odell, I guess if we start sniffing around another receiver, then I'll take JSN a little more seriously. For me, I kind of fall in line with you. I want the tackle at 13. I want the center in the 2nd round. And then if you wind up giving up one of the seconds for Aaron Rodgers, so be it. If not, maybe you look at like a safety, a linebacker, a D tackle at that point. I think there's a lot of routes the Jets can go, and receiver feels like you're kind of.
Not to cut you off, I'm just gonna be frank with you, dude. Like watching it, and Jigba it can be better than Wilson. Like I will admit and tell you that. Like the kid is the more talented receiver, but I think he's gonna go in the top 10. I really do. I think a lot of people are gonna really see what his potential is, and I don't like the word potential because he's not with Zach Wilson for 2 years, but the guy who's prospect,
Sure. Now, do you think that if he is there at 13, he would be the better pick over a tackle? Because I think maybe that's what we're waiting for. And it's like, hey, let's see who's available for the Jets at 13. If Broderick Jones is there and JSN, or maybe it's JSN, Broderick Jones, and one of the other tackles, and then you feel comfortable flipping 13 and 15 and making some sort of trade with the Packers at that point because you're only losing 2 players, 2 players. You figure. Green Bay probably takes the receiver at that point, and then you have at least one of the tackles there for you at 15 if you were to slide back. I don't know. It's interesting.
I don't think they're giving up the first. I don't think they're giving up the first, man. I think you've been convinced.
I don't think you have to. The only reason I would consider swapping picks would be if we're on the clock and we have 3 players or 2 players or whatever it is on our board that we are that we're comfortable with. Because we can move down to, and by doing it at that point, maybe the Packers are like, hey, look, we'll do this and we'll forego a different future pick later on, or we'll definitely throw in this pick. I don't know. For me, there's no reason for the Jets to have to make this trade before the draft, and if that's the case, like, just use all your picks. Like, I don't know. I don't want to make the Rodgers trade prior to the draft. I don't know where you kind of fall on that.
I would think the June 1st. Dude, this is about the money, the cap money in June 1st. Like, I don't understand why no one is emphasizing why this has really been delayed because of that. And also because Brian Gutekunst is the general manager that has Aaron Rodgers. He's not a real general manager. So he really does not have any leg to stand on any of this. No, seriously, I hate to say this, like look at Brett Veach. Are we going to say Brett Veach is an amazing general manager? He's had Patrick Mahomes. These kind of guys haven't really made their marks when it's like when you don't have the quarterback. So we don't know what Guncuss is like, and we're kind of seeing now how he's handling it. So, look, I mean, if the Packers are smart, they make this trade by the day of the draft. You want to go that late. But if I am the Jets, I would forego waiting to just trade picks next year when they're going to be maybe pick 32. That would be nice if we do.
Yep.
If we do make it happen. I mean, that's the most ideal. And then the cap space. So everybody kind of wins. Well, no, I mean, the Packers kind of lose on the draft picks. But you know what? Listen, Brian Gutekunst has got to – he can't have it both ways. He just can't have it both ways with any of this right now. And I think that he's allowed it to continue this long, so he has to pay the price for what he has to deal with. And I don't think he knows what to do right now. I mean, the Pat McAfee showed you, man. Rodgers wasn't just talking about picking the Jets. Rodgers was telling you, like, the Packers are kind of a dysfunctional mess, guys. It's gotten worse over the years, and I've been seeing it little by little.
Now, do you think there's – so you had mentioned JSN as being a top 10 pick potentially. If he's there at 13 and Rodgers had never had the benefit of getting a first-round talent while he was there, do you think there's any thought to maybe that? I want to believe that Joe Douglas can hit on offensive linemen outside of the first round. Like there is a little bit to me that feels a little irked by that. Like I feel like, seeing like a little bit of success of Mitchell and then seeing a little bit of success on the defensive side from Robert Saleh's bread and butter, the defensive line. I guess I want to see a little bit more from the linebackers because he's a linebackers coach, kind of in his past. But I want to see more. I want to see Douglas hit on maybe outside of the first round offensive lineman. Do you think there's anything maybe to that with the Rodgers stuff, maybe getting a receiver too?
So you're asking me, would they draft a receiver later or take the offensive line later?
Sorry. I worded that very odd. Let's say JSN falls to 13. I think Douglas should be able to hit on tackles outside of the first round because he's used Mekhi Becton, he's used Elijah Vera Tucker. We think he's probably going to take a center in the second round. Like, do you have to have such an investment in offensive linemen in the first round, or can you hit outside of it? We saw Douglas take a 6th or 7th round tackle in Philly, not necessarily him, but he was part of the team that took a tackle in Philly that is now their starting left tackle. So like maybe there's a little bit of going receiver at 13.
Dude, I hate to say this, man. I think everyone is just so drunk on the Odell thing that we have to have this discussion. I don't think this discussion was even happening 2 weeks ago. To be very honest, like
I agree, actually.
If you're at 13 and you're seeing guys like Skoronski and Broderick Jones and Paris Johnson, take the guy that we need now. Like we took Wilson last year. I begged at 10 when everyone was like, we don't need receiver. I said, take Garrett Wilson. You're not going to regret it. This year, even though I love Jackson Smith and Jigba, and say we didn't have Lazard and all these guys, I'd say 100%. At this point now, it's like I don't want to worry about who's going to be our 4th or 5th receiver going into this year. I want a guy right now that's not going to destroy Aaron Rodgers on the field. That's going to let Aaron Rodgers get destroyed on the field because Dwayne Brown is not a guarantee for the future. Mekhi Becton is not a guarantee for the future. Matt Mitchell's coming off blood clots. So we keep going down this list, and everyone keeps talking how much bad luck the Jets got offensive line. The NFL, bro, and fantasy sports and all this, it's luck. Half of it's luck, half of it's talent. You got to have guys there that will be present. And how often offensive linemen get hurt is not often, but we get bad luck from it. Right now, you've got the receivers you need. They can draft another guy. Look, where's Denzel Mims? We haven't talked about him at all tonight. I mean, I think no one's talked about getting – unless he's in the trade. I mean,
I would hope not, right? Like he I think more than anyone is the player I would love to see break out because I feel like he was kind of shackled by Mike LaFleur. I think Elijah Moore probably would have been my first candidate, but now that he's gone, is there a tackle that you kind of want at 13? I've sort of locked myself into Broderick Jones. That's the one I'm kind of hoping is there. I'd be happy with any of the 3, but maybe leaning that way.
I mean, if you see what Rashawn Slater did at Northwestern, you'd say Peter Skoronski is probably the same kind of player. You know what did JD say when he came here? He likes smart players. He likes leaders, smart players. He fits that mold perfectly. I love Paris Johnson, Ohio State fan, but I got no problem. They want to take Peter. Look, I'm even fine. You know, if these guys miraculously even get past, let's say we even want to consider trading down from 13 to like 19 or something, and they're still. So I don't think it's going to happen. But I think we have to think about a little bit that we're going to have to give up that second round pick for Rodgers, which I think is still going to be involved. We don't have a third round pick, so you got to have to make up picks a little bit somehow, some way, unless we're just going to straight up say we're fine with not having a third round pick this year, or maybe moves down in the second round. I know I'm thinking ahead. It's just I think you want to kind of recuperate picks somehow, some way, because you still need talent on this team. We need our Fred Warner at linebacker. We don't have any other linebackers outside of CJ Mosley's albatross contract. We don't have a good safety situation. The offensive line. So there's a lot of holes we still need to fix. So no team is perfect. If you have the quarterback, then you've got 70% of the problem. The 30% of the problem is getting the rest of the roster filled out. Maybe with Rodgers being here, we still have maybe 10% of the team that still needs to get finished. If you want to get to beat Patty and Herbie and Hurts and Allen and Burrow, like I want to be locked and effing loaded. I want to have everything ready to go for this year. And I think for next year, I think it's 2 years, but this year they got a fourth place schedule. Take advantage of that because next year it's going to be a first place schedule. They don't go that far. So remember that too. I'm not going to say schedule matters all the way because it changes, but take advantage of it. That's what I would do.
Jake, I really like this call. This was a really good one. I enjoy when you call in every Monday. Dude, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. Jake, always bringing the fire. Really like that. Now, he mentioned the tackles, if they could fall and slide down, right? If you had a situation where I think the Bears are going to take Skoronski. I get the feeling that, you know, people have projected him as a guard potentially with tackle flexibility. I feel like the Bears make a lot of sense there. Then you've got Lawan Taylor from Tennessee gets cut. Tennessee's looking for a tackle. I think it could make a ton of sense with someone going there, whether that's Paris Johnson Jr. or Broderick Jones. Then you fall down just a little bit more, and you get to the New York Jets at 13. Tackle, wide receiver, those are kind of the two spots I'm looking at. I'm not super high on taking a receiver so early, but I could understand if you want to make Rodgers smitten. Like, hey, we are going to go all out for you. You know, the offensive lineman, it might take a little bit of time to groom him the right way. Let's have the vet protect your blind side in Brown. We're going to get another tackle to groom behind him. Maybe that's Mekhi Becton. Maybe the second round pick is DeJuan Jones, and you're trading up and you're getting the stud right tackle. And now all of a sudden you got your Smith and Jigba, and you've got your DeJuan Jones, and you got your Garrett Wilson. You got all your little Ohio State pieces. Jeremy Ruckert, I'm not forgetting you. Luke Weipler, center. Weipler, however you say his name. Potato. We're just going to be Ohio State Jets. It's worked out all right. We'll see how it all shakes out. All right, what are you guys talking about in the chat over here? See if we can close this thing out. We got about 3 minutes. See how you guys are doing in here. Oh, it seems like Finn's fan having a little fun in the chat. Oh, the chat's giving him hell. I appreciate the Finn's fan coming in here. I enjoy having other teams' fans coming here because I feel like you guys could provide, at times, this does not seem like one of those, but at times, some nice perspective, both on your team and ours. The Jets drafted Zach Wilson. Yeah, we did. We did. You know what I thought is funny? I saw someone comment and say like, oh, the Jets are giving up a a main pick for an over-the-hill quarterback. And guess what? The Packers, or not the Packers, sorry, the Finns, they gave up a first-round pick for an over-the-hill quarterback that's not on their fucking roster. Oh, man, you guys gave up the 19th pick to talk to Tom Brady. Oh, you guys are a clown show. At least we got Zach Wilson for our first-round pick. As much as it sucks, still got 3 more years to see how that works out. You guys gave up a first-round pick, and the player's never taken a snap for your team. I think I'm going to leave you guys there. Boys and girls, this was a lot of fun. I enjoy our conversations each and every Monday night. I'll be back tomorrow for our Talking Jets panel. Myself, O'Leary, and Green Bean, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Make sure you tune into that. If you haven't checked out the new Talking Jets panel channel, it's linked in the live chat, also linked down below in the description. Make sure you head over there, hit a little subscription button, little subscribe button. Like that video that's posted over there, and comment down below on that video, and you'll be entered into all our t-shirt and jersey giveaways from now through the end of the draft. Boys and girls, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. This is Jets Talk signing off. Jets!
I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Usama's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe into the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.